that we need to learn about. First up, we have the switches. These allow us to direct the train's route and decide which track they'll follow. Try clicking the highlighted switch. Great! Now we'll move on to the signals. These signals are wonderful. Notice that the signal has turned green. This means that it's set to proceed. Trains will be able to run through it. Let's right-click it to set it back to Great job! As a dispatcher, you'll be responsible for routing trains to specific locations, so we should get familiar with some of the routes you'll be using. Let's start by making a route from Davidsa, Platform 2, to Bubny, Platform 2. We'll start by setting the switches so that the train can safely pass them. Remember, great! Now that the switches are set, you can... Excellent! Now that the route is set, a train could run through and reach its destination. We'll try setting another route in a second, but first we need to close the current route. Flip the signal to halt. This will make the track available for other trains again. Normally, a train would automatically reset the signal when it passes by, but for now, we can do it manually. Let's right-click it to set it back to stop again. Great job! Looks like you know what you're doing. Let's see if you can create a route on your own. Try making a route from Bubny Platform 2 to Docks Platform 1. And remember, switches first, then signals. Oh, so close! We want the route to go to the docks though, not away from it. Try right-clicking on the signal at the docks to clear it, and then left-click on the signal to the left of Bubny to set the route again. Wonderful! Let's clear this route and get started with some actual trains. Let's right-click it to set it back to stop again. Great job! Well, you've certainly got the hang of that. The trains will start coming soon. I'm off to get a coffee, and then we'll start for real. Oh, what's that? Sounds like we've got a train approaching. We'd better get back. Arrive at that platform. We better wave it through. Left-click on the circular train icon to take a look at the train's route. Looks like train commuter 1011 is waiting to arrive. According to its schedule, it's looking to arrive at Platform 2. Now that we've selected the train icon, all we have to do to accept the train is to click on one of the station's platforms. Right, here it comes. Sometimes these trains take so long to arrive, I take a nap whilst I wait for them. Well, feel free to pass the time any way you like. No use sitting here doing nothing. You see that switch down the line? We'd better change its route, or else we'll be sending them straight into a dead end. Good work! Now we've got to signal. Great! That'll let the train know that it's safe to set off. Once it's past it, the signal will go back to causing trains to halt. We'll just wait for the train to depart now. It shouldn't be long. Oh look, the train just started moving. Its scheduled departure time must have passed already. Now we wait for the train to arrive in Bubny. As I said, feel free to take a quick power nap. I know I will.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Chapter 1, Unseen Threads. Part 1, The Quirks at Breakfast. The sun hadn't even crested the horizon when the subtle cacophony of the Smith family's morning routine began. In the heart of their modest, technology-filled home, Lena, the ever-patient matriarch, maneuvered around the kitchen with practiced grace. Despite the early hour, the aroma of coffee and pancakes filled the air, a comforting blanket over the underlying tension that had woven itself into the fabric of their lives. At the table, Mark, the father with a quiet intensity, flipped through his tablet, his brows furrowed not from the content but from the slight, almost imperceptible flicker of the screen, a flicker no one but he seemed to notice. Sophie, their eldest, was lost in a book, her eyes darting back and forth with a speed that belied a mere skim. And then there was Eli, the 3-year-old prodigy, tapping away on his own device with a concentration that would be enviable in someone thrice his age. "Mom, this is amazing," Sophie exclaimed, putting her book down to take a bite of her pancakes. Lena smiled, the lines around her eyes
Time to
deepening with
teach you
affection.
about reversing.
"Your
Sometimes
dad
we'll
made
need to
them
send
today,"
the train back
she
the way it
replied,
came.
casting
That's
a
where the
knowing look
reverse
toward
button
Mark.
comes in.
Mark looked up, offering a modest grin. "Just followed the recipe," he said, though his attention was quickly drawn back to his tablet. The screen glitched again, and he tapped it with a finger, sending a small, almost imperceptible spark across its surface. The device obediently corrected itself, but not before Lena's sharp eyes caught the anomaly. Eli, unfazed by the adults' exchange, giggled as he swiped through an educational app, answering questions that were decidedly beyond his years. His small fingers moved with purpose, tapping and swiping with an accuracy that left Lena often wondering how such a young child could grasp these concepts so intuitively. It was these moments, these small, unspoken oddities, that lingered in the air like dust motes caught in sunlight. Lena had noticed them, of course, the way Mark's small cuts from tinkering in the garage healed almost overnight, how certain medications seemed to have no effect on him, the odd, geometrically perfect scars that traced his back and arms, hidden from the world. Sophie, too, had begun to notice peculiarities in her own life. Deja vu moments that were too accurate, too predictive, to be mere coincidences. She'd brushed them off, attributing them to stress or an overactive imagination, yet the seed of curiosity had been planted. As breakfast continued, the family danced around these quirks, an unspoken agreement to maintain the facade of normalcy. Yet the undercurrent of something more, something extraordinary, was palpable, a silent symphony that played just beneath the surface of their everyday lives. Today, however, that silence would be broken, and the Smith family's journey into the truth of their origins would begin. But for now, they ate, they laughed, and they reveled in the simplicity of their morning routine, unaware of how precious these moments of ignorance truly were. In the next part, Questions Unasked, the day will progress, and Lena's suspicions will grow, leading to a confrontation that will change the trajectory of their lives forever. Thanks for using our tools. Please following and rate to support our content. Tools for more tools. HTTPS linktar.ee Voodoo Streams. Part 2. Questions Unasked. The remnants of breakfast had been cleared away, the early morning tranquility giving way to the bustling energy of the day. Lena found herself at the sink, hands submerged in warm, soapy water, her gaze wandering through the window to where Mark was teaching Eli how to plant seeds in the garden. The sight was heartwarming, yet it couldn't quite dislodge the growing unease nestled in the pit of her stomach. Sophie had retreated to her room, the soft hum of her music drifting down the hallway, a melodic shield against the world's complexities. Lena's mind replayed the morning's oddities, each one a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit, It wasn't just the tablet's glitch or Eli's precociousness. It was the accumulation of years of small, inexplicable events that, in isolation, seemed insignificant. Mark's injuries that healed too rapidly, his aversion to doctors and hospitals, the way he seemed to understand and fix any gadget with a mere touch. Each anomaly, a thread in a tapestry Lena couldn't quite discern the pattern of. And there was Sophie, her sudden gasps of recognition at places she'd never been. Her dreams that eerily mirrored future events, dismissed as coincidences, but too frequent, too accurate to ignore. As the sun climbed higher, casting shadows across the lawn, Lena dried her hands, her resolve solidifying. She needed answers, but the questions, the real probing questions, remained unvoiced, trapped by a mixture of fear and the worry of unraveling the very fabric of their family life. Lunch came and went, a meal filled with idle chatter that skirted around the deeper currents pulling at Lena's thoughts. She watched Mark, how he laughed and played with Eli, how he looked at her with love and something else. Was it guilt? Fear? The unspoken hung heavily between them, a barrier of silence built on mutual avoidance. The afternoon waned, and Lena found herself sitting at the family computer, pretending to sort through emails while her mind raced. She typed out question after question into the search bar, each one more fantastical than the last. Fast healing, electrical interference with human body, children predicting the future. Each search felt like a betrayal, a step away from the man she loved and the life they'd built. But before she could press enter, a hand gently closed the laptop. Mark stood behind her, his expression a mix of resignation and relief. "It's time we talked," he said, his voice low, carrying a weight that Lena felt in her bones. Dinner was a quiet affair that night, with Sophie eyeing her parents curiously, sensing the shift in the air. Eli, blissfully unaware, babbled about his day, his words a balm to the tension that sat at the table like an unwelcome guest. After Eli was tucked into bed and Sophie retreated once again to her room, Mark and Lena sat on the couch, the flickering light of the television casting shadows across the room. Lena turned it off, the silence enveloping them like a thick blanket. "Mark," Lena began, her voice steady despite the tremor of nerves. "What are we?" Mark took a deep breath, his gaze meeting hers. "It's a long story," he said, "one that starts far from here, on a planet called Silaxia Prime." And so, under the soft glow of the living room lamps, Mark began to unravel the mystery of their family, each word a key unlocking the door to a world Lena had never imagined. As the night deepened, the unasked questions found their voice, and the truths laid bare altered the course of their lives forever. In Shocking Revelations, the next part, we'll explore the immediate aftermath of Mark's revelation and the family's first steps into a broader universe of possibilities. Thanks for listening, please following, and rate to support our content for more Voodoo streams. Part 3, Shocking Revelations. The living room had transformed into a confessional, a sanctuary where truths long buried were finally brought into the light. Mark's revelation hung in the air, a palpable entity that seemed to consume the space between him and Lena. Salaxia Prime, a name that sounded like it belonged in the pages of the science fiction novels Sophie adored. Not in their living room, not in their lives. Lena sat in stunned silence, absorbing Mark's words. He spoke of his home planet with a mixture of pride and sorrow, describing landscapes and technologies far beyond Earth's reach. He talked about his people's abilities, how they were natural extensions of themselves, as common to them as breathing was to humans. But why us? Why me? Lena's voice cracked, the enormity of the situation pressing down on her. How can Eli and Sophie? Mark reached for her hand, his own sparking slightly, with that unexplained electrical charge that had always been a quirky anomaly, now a sign of his otherworldly origin. It's genetic, part of our DNA. I hoped maybe they'd be spared the more noticeable traits. The dinner dishes still set on the table, forgotten. Sophie, drawn by the gravity of the conversation, had quietly taken a seat on the stairs, her presence unnoticed. She listened, wide-eyed, as her father described a universe that suddenly expanded beyond her wildest dreams. The revelation of Mark's alien heritage explained so much, their family's peculiarities that had always set them apart, the feeling of being different that Sophie had carried within her. Yet it also cast a shadow of uncertainty over their future. How could they live knowing they were part alien? What did this mean for Eli, who had yet to understand the concept of Earth, let alone another planet? Mark's story continued, weaving through the years of their life together, explaining the unexplainable. He spoke of the hardships of concealing his true nature, the fear of discovery, and the hope that his family, his earthly family, would never have to face the challenges he had endured alone. As the evening wore on, the shock of the revelation began to settle, replaced by a burgeoning curiosity and, surprisingly, a sense of clarity. Lena, Sophie, and even young Eli, in his innocence, were part of something larger than themselves, a cosmic lineage that spanned the stars. Yet with this knowledge came danger. Mark's eyes darkened as he recounted the reasons for his departure from Salaxia Prime, the conflicts and power struggles that had made him a target, the possibility that those forces could still be searching for him, for them. The television, forgotten in the corner, flickered spontaneously, a casualty of the heightened emotions and Mark's uncontrollable energy. It was a minor incident, but it underscored the reality of their situation, the need for caution, and the importance of understanding and controlling their abilities. As the night turned to early morning, the Smith family found themselves at a crossroads. The path ahead was uncharted, fraught with challenges and dangers, but also filled with potential for wonder and discovery. Together, they resolved to face whatever came their way, armed with the truth of their origins and the strength of their familial bond. In Late Night Confessions, we'll delve deeper into Mark's history, the specifics of their abilities, and the initial steps the family takes to navigate their new reality, marking the beginning of their journey into the unknown. Thanks for listening, Voodoo Streams. Part 4, Late Night Confessions. The clock ticked past midnight, its soft murmurs a stark contrast to the gravity of Mark's revelations. Lena and Mark remained on the couch, now drawn into an intimate orbit by the magnitude of what was shared. The room felt smaller, charged with an energy that seemed to emanate from Mark himself, as if his confession had unlocked something primal within him. Lena, her mind a whirlwind of emotion and thought, struggled to process the enormity of Mark's truth. Salaxia Prime, a planet of advanced beings with abilities far beyond human comprehension, was not just a tale. It was their reality, their origin. Mark, the man she had loved and built a life with, was not entirely human. And their children, Sophie and Eli, were part of this cosmic heritage. As the initial shock began to fade, Lena's love for Mark, unwavering and deep, became the anchor that kept her grounded. She reached for his hand, her touch a silent question, seeking the reassurance of his presence. Mark's hand, warm and steady, clasped hers, a lifeline amidst the storm of revelations. "Mark, why now? Why tell me all this after all these years?" Lena's voice was soft but firm, needing to understand the timing of his confession. Mark sighed, a sound heavy with unspoken burdens. "I've always wanted to tell you, Lena, from the very day we met. But fear held me back, the fear of losing you, the fear of putting you and our children in danger. Our abilities, our heritage, they come with risks. But recently I've sensed changes in me, in Sophie and even in Eli. I can't protect you or guide them alone. It's time we face this as a family." Lena nodded, absorbing his words, her mind racing with the implications of their new reality. The oddities of their lives, once brushed off as quirks, now made a terrifying sense. Mark's rapid healing, Sophie's precognitive glimpses, Eli's inexplicable intellect, all pieces of a puzzle that formed a picture Lena could never have imagined. But how? How do we navigate a life that's part alien? Lena's question hung in the air, weighted with the fear of the unknown. "We learn, we adapt, and we protect each other," Mark answered with a conviction that belied his own uncertainties. "My parents left me with knowledge, tools to teach Sophie and Eli about their heritage. We're not alone, Lena. There are others like us, and it's time we reach out for guidance and for support." The conversation stretched into the early hours, a cathartic outpouring of fears, hopes, and unbreakable vows. They spoke of practical matters, how to explain this to Sophie and Eli, how to safeguard their family against potential threats, and of the intangible, the emotional bonds that tied them to each other, into a home planet they had never seen. As dawn painted the sky with strokes of pink and gold, Lena and Mark faced a new day, a new chapter in their lives, with a resolve forged in the crucible of late-night confessions. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and dangers, but they were united, a family bound not just by love, but by a shared destiny that spanned the stars. In the next part, A New Dawn, the family must confront the immediate implications of Mark's revelations and begin to navigate their extraordinary reality together. Part 5, A New Dawn. The first light of dawn crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the living room where Lena and Mark had spent the night wrapped in conversation. The revelations of the night had shifted something fundamental between them, a deepening of their bond through shared secrets and unveiled truths. As they stood together, watching the sunrise, there was a palpable sense of beginning anew, of stepping into a world that was all at once more wondrous and more daunting than they had ever imagined. Sophie was the first to stir, her footsteps light against the staircase as she descended into the changed atmosphere of their home. Her eyes, bright with curiosity, flicked between her parents, sensing the seismic shift that had occurred in the quiet of the night. "What's going on?" Her voice, tinged with sleep, broke the serene silence. "You guys look like you haven't slept at all." Lena and Mark exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. It was time. Time to share with Sophie the truths that would redefine her understanding of herself, her family, and her place in the universe. Mark took a deep breath, his hand finding Lena's as they prepared to open their daughter's eyes to her heritage. "Sophie, sit down. We have something important to tell you, something about our family, about who we are." The conversation that followed was a mirror to the one from the night before. But with Sophie now in Lena's place, her reactions a mix of disbelief, awe, and finally acceptance. Mark spoke of Silaxia Prime with the same love and longing, of the abilities that ran in their blood, and of the responsibilities that came with such gifts. Sophie's initial skepticism waned as her own experiences, the moments of unexplained intuition, the dreams that foretold the future, were cast in a new light. Her life, she realized, was not bound by the ordinary limits she had always assumed. Eli, too young to understand the full implications, was nonetheless included in the family's new dawn. His bright eyes watched his sister's reactions, his innate intelligence grasping the significance of their unity and the shared journey ahead. As the day unfolded, the family found themselves in a state of renaissance. Breakfast was a lively affair filled with questions from Sophie and thoughtful, often wistful answers from Mark. Lena, ever the heart of their home, provided the warmth and support that grounded them, her love and unspoken reassurance that whatever the future held, they would face it together. The revelation of their origins was not just a sharing of secrets, but a call to unity. It was an understanding that their family was unique, not just in their abilities, but in their capacity to love and protect one another in the face of unknown challenges. As the sun climbed higher, casting its light across a world that seemed both familiar and newly mysterious, the Smiths stepped into their new reality with a sense of purpose. They were a family bound not just by blood, but by the stars themselves, their journey together only just beginning. In the days to come, they would navigate the complexities of their Salaxian heritage, learning to harness their abilities, reaching out to others like them, and facing the challenges of a world that might not understand or accept them. But for now, in the quiet of their home, basking in the glow of a new dawn, they had each other, and that was enough. The next chapter, Awakening, will explore the family's exploration of their abilities, the challenges they face, and their first steps into a broader community of beings with extraordinary powers. Chapter 2, Awakening Part 1, The Legacy Unfolds. The Smith family gathered in the living room, the air filled with anticipation and the weight of history. Mark stood before them, a collection of old, seemingly ancient texts and digital devices spread out on the coffee table. These were relics of Salaxia Prime, carefully preserved and hidden away, now brought forth to bridge the past with the future. Salaxia Prime, Mark began, his voice imbued with a reverence that captured his family's attention, was a planet of peace, of innovation, and of deep connection to the cosmos. Our people were guardians of balance, harnessing abilities that allowed us to protect, to heal, and to understand the fabric of the universe in ways humans have only begun to imagine. Sophie and Eli leaned forward, their eyes wide with wonder. Lena, ever the supportive pillar, watched her family, feeling a mix of pride and concern. She knew this moment was a turning point, one that would define their path forward. Our abilities, Mark continued, are a gift from our ancestors, a legacy that has been passed down through generations. These gifts come with a responsibility to use them wisely, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to maintain the balance our family has sworn to uphold. He picked up a small device, sleek and unlike any technology on Earth. With a gentle touch, it activated, projecting holographic images of Salaxia Prime, its cities, its people, and its landscapes. The beauty and complexity of their ancestral home left the family in awe. Sophie, your visions, your ability to see beyond the present, is a form of guidance, a way to foresee potential outcomes and influence them for the better. Eli, your connection with technology, your intuitive understanding of it, is because our people were pioneers in harmonizing organic life with technology. Sophie listened, a sense of purpose slowly replacing the fear and confusion she had felt. Eli, still too young to grasp the full implications, giggled at the floating images, his innocence a stark contrast to the profound legacy being bestowed upon him. Mark turned to Lena, taking her hand. And Lena, while you may not share our bloodline, your love, your strength is what holds us together. You are as much a part of this legacy as any of us. The room was filled with a new understanding, a new resolve. The Smith family, once ordinary in their anonymity, now stood at the threshold of their true journey. They were the keepers of Salaxia Prime's legacy, a family united not just by love, but by a cosmic heritage that would guide them through the challenges and wonders of a world awakening to the reality of their existence. As the session ended and the holograms faded, the family sat together, a mix of emotions swirling within them. There was fear, yes, but more than that, there was excitement, a sense of purpose, and a deep, unbreakable bond that would carry them into the unknown. In A Glimpse Beyond, the next part, Sophie will explore the depths of her visions, learning to control and understand her precognitive abilities with Mark's guidance, marking her first steps into the vast potential of her Salaxian heritage. Part 2, A Glimpse Beyond. The afternoon sun filtered through the windows, casting a soft glow around Sophie as she sat cross-legged on the living room floor, her father beside her. This was to be her first guided attempt at understanding and controlling her precognitive abilities, a moment both daunting and exhilarating. Mark's presence was calming, a testament to the unwavering support system their family had become. "Focus on your breathing, Sophie," Mark instructed gently, his voice steady and reassuring. "Let the world around you fade. Your gift is not just about seeing, it's about feeling, connecting with the flow of time itself." Sophie closed her eyes, taking deep, even breaths as her father had taught her. The ambient noises of the house, the distant hum of appliances, the soft rustle of leaves outside began to recede. In their place, a different kind of awareness emerged, a sensation of reaching out into an expansive, unseen realm. "It's okay if nothing happens at first," Mark continued, sensing his daughter's mixture of anticipation and anxiety. "This is about opening yourself to the possibilities, to the paths that the future might take." As Sophie delved deeper into her meditative state, she felt a sudden shift, as if the world had tilted on its axis. Colors and sounds swirled in her mind's eye, coalescing into coherent scenes. She saw the park near their home, the laughter of children, a dog chasing a frisbee, but with a clarity that spoke of the future, not memory. Then, with startling clarity, she saw a young boy, no older than Eli, wandering too close to the street, his mother's attention caught by a phone call. The impending danger was palpable, a car turning the corner, unaware of the child's presence. Sophie's breath hitched, the vision so vivid, so urgent. She opened her eyes, gasping, the room rushing back into focus. "Did you see something?" Mark asked, concern etching his features. Sophie nodded, her heart racing. "The park, a little boy. He's going to—" She couldn't finish, the fear for the child overwhelming her. Mark understood instantly. "Show me," he said, standing. Together they rushed to the park, driven by the need to prevent the vision from becoming reality. Arriving at the park, everything was as Sophie had seen. The laughter, the dog, the distracted mother, and there was the boy, dangerously close to the curb. Without hesitation, Mark and Sophie intervened, guiding the child away from the street just as the car turned the corner. The mother, realizing what had nearly happened, embraced her son, tears of gratitude in her eyes. She thanked Sophie and Mark, who assured her all was well, urging her to be careful. As they walked home, the weight of what had happened settled over Sophie. Her abilities, once a source of confusion and fear, had just prevented a tragedy. The realization was profound, the understanding that her visions could be a force for good, a way to protect and guide. Mark placed an arm around Sophie, pride and love evident in his smile. "You did well, Sophie. This is just the beginning. Your abilities will grow, and with them, your capacity to make a difference." Sophie nodded, a newfound confidence blossoming within her. She had glimpsed beyond the present, and in doing so, had changed the future. It was a gift, she realized, a precious, powerful gift, and she was ready to embrace it, to learn, to grow, and to see what other wonders and challenges lay on the horizon. In Prodigy Unleashed, the next part, the focus shifts to Eli, exploring the depths of his connection with technology and the intuitive understanding that sets him apart, as the Smith family continues to navigate the awakening of their Salaxian heritage. Part 3, Prodigy Unleashed. The Smith household was alive with a new sense of purpose and discovery, each family member adapting to the revelations of their unique heritage in their own way. For young Eli, this meant a deeper exploration into the realm where he felt most at home, the world of technology. It was a Saturday morning, and the house was quiet except for the soft clicks emanating from Eli's room. Lena, curious about her son's activities, peeked inside to find him engrossed in an intricate dance of creation. The tablet before him displayed a complex schematic that would baffle even seasoned engineers, yet Eli navigated it with ease, his small fingers moving with confidence and precision. "Eli, what are you working on?" Lena asked, her voice a mixture of awe and bemusement. Without looking up, Eli responded, "Fixing the Wi-Fi. It's too slow, making it faster." His tone was matter-of-fact, as if improving the household's internet speed was a typical task for a 3-year-old. Lena watched, fascinated, as Eli finalized his adjustments. Moments later, the Wi-Fi signal strength indicator on her phone surged to maximum. She tested the speed, finding it exponentially faster than before. "Eli, that's amazing. How did you know how to do that?" Eli finally looked up at his mother, his eyes bright with the innocence and wonder of childhood. "I just knew," he replied, a simple explanation that spoke volumes of the extraordinary intelligence and abilities inherited from his Salaxian lineage. Mark, having overheard the exchange, joined them in Eli's room, a proud smile spreading across his face. Eli's understanding of technology is beyond human. It's instinctual for him, part of our Silaxian heritage. Our people were pioneers in integrating technology with organic life, creating harmony between the two. The family's journey into the heart of their abilities had taken a new turn with Eli's demonstration. It wasn't just about understanding their powers, but about harnessing them for practical purposes, making their daily lives better while staying under the radar of those who might not understand or accept their uniqueness. Over the next few weeks, Eli continued to astonish his family with his technological prowess. Devices that malfunctioned were easily fixed with a touch of his hand, and he devised systems to make the household more efficient, all the while maintaining the joyous curiosity of a child exploring a boundless playground. Mark and Lena knew they had a responsibility to guide Eli, to ensure his talents were nurtured in a way that kept him safe yet allowed him to grow. They began documenting his progress, creating a framework for teaching him not just about technology, but about the ethics and responsibilities that came with his abilities. Sophie, too, played a crucial role in her brother's development. Her burgeoning ability to foresee potential outcomes became invaluable, helping to anticipate and navigate the challenges Eli's unique gifts might attract. As the Smith family continued to adapt to their new reality, they found strength in their unity and purpose in their individual gifts. Eli, the youngest among them, had shown them the possibilities that lay within their grasp, the potential to transcend the ordinary and touch the extraordinary. In Bonds Beyond Blood, the next part, the Smiths will explore the deeper connections their abilities allow them to forge, both with each other and with the world around them, as they prepare to face the challenges and opportunities that their unique heritage will undoubtedly bring. Part 4, Bonds Beyond Blood. In the weeks following Eli's technological revelations and Sophie's precognitive awakening, the Smith family found themselves navigating a new reality, one where the boundaries of human capability were expanded by their Salaxian heritage. This period of discovery brought them closer, weaving their individual abilities into a tapestry of familial strength that was both unique and unbreakable. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, the family gathered in the backyard, a place that had become their sanctuary for experimentation and bonding. Mark had proposed an exercise to explore the potential of their combined abilities, a way to strengthen their connections and understand the depth of their powers. Silaxians believe that our abilities are not just tools, but extensions of our emotional and psychic bonds, Mark explained, his eyes reflecting the fading light. Tonight, let's try something different. Let's see if we can share our thoughts and feelings without words, to communicate through our connection. Lena, always the anchor, was supportive yet cautious. What do we need to do? Mark smiled, his confidence reassuring. Just relax and open your minds. Focus on projecting a thought or a feeling towards each other. It might sound daunting, but remember, we're all connected, not just by blood, but by the essence of Salaxia Prime that flows through us. The exercise began with tentative steps. Sophie, brimming with the energy of her youth, was the first to transmit a feeling of warmth and affection towards her family, a sense of gratitude for their unity and support. To her amazement, she felt responses: a comforting embrace from Lena, a surge of pride from Mark, and from Eli, a simple, pure love that needed no words. Encouraged by their initial success, they delved deeper into this silent conversation, sharing memories, emotions, and even glimpses of potential futures seen by Sophie. Eli, too young to fully articulate his thoughts, nonetheless contributed with feelings of joy and curiosity, his innocence a beacon that drew them all closer. As the experiment continued, the family discovered they could not only share thoughts, but also enhance each other's abilities. Under Mark's guidance, they focused their collective will, enabling Sophie to project a vision of a peaceful future, a world where their family's heritage was accepted and celebrated. It was a fleeting glimpse, but the clarity and hope it offered were profound, leaving them all touched by the possibility of what they could achieve together. The exercise revealed not just the extent of their powers, but the depth of their love and commitment to each other. It was a moment of profound connection, a realization that their abilities, while extraordinary, were merely facets of their true strength, their unbreakable bonds. As the night drew to a close, the Smith family sat together, enveloped in a sense of peace and unity. They understood that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, that the world outside their sanctuary might not be ready for the truths they held. But within their circle, supported by bonds beyond blood, they found the courage to face whatever may come. In our unity, we find our strength. In our diversity, we find our power, Mark whispered, his words a vow for the future. In The World Takes Notice, the next part, the Smith family's burgeoning abilities begin to attract attention, marking the start of a new chapter where their private sanctuary intersects with the broader world. Their journey of discovery would no longer be a quiet affair, as forces, both curious and covetous, turn their eyes towards the family with extraordinary secrets. Thank you for listening to our book. Please like and follow for more. Chapter 3, Exposure Part 1, Unwanted Attention. The once quiet life of the Smith family had taken a sharp turn towards the public eye. Word of their extraordinary abilities had spread beyond their immediate community, igniting a mixture of fascination, envy, and fear. What started as whispers and sideways glances escalated into overt scrutiny. The local news outlets, always hungry for a story, began piecing together accounts of the Smiths' uncanny interventions. Sophie's inexplicable foresight, Eli's technological miracles, and Mark's rare but unmistakable displays of strength and speed. This newfound attention was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brought a sense of validation, a recognition of their unique gifts. On the other, it cast a glaring spotlight on their differences, eroding the privacy and normalcy they had fought so hard to maintain. Lena noticed the change first. At the grocery store, whispers followed her down the aisles. At school, Sophie felt the weight of curious stares and heard her name whispered with a mix of awe and suspicion. Eli, still too young to fully grasp the situation, asked his mother why people looked at them funny. Mark, ever the protector, felt the shift most acutely. He saw the curiosity in their neighbors' eyes turn cautious, the friendly nods replaced by hesitant glances. It was a tension he could almost feel, a crack in the facade of their peaceful existence that threatened to widen with each passing day. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, the topic could no longer be avoided. "We need to talk about what's happening," Mark stated, his voice steady but his concern evident. "Our abilities, they're not just our secret anymore." Lena nodded, her expression somber. "I've felt it too. People are starting to treat us differently. It's like we're suddenly outsiders in our own community." Sophie played with her food, her usual appetite dampened by the weight of the conversation. "Some of my friends have started asking weird questions, like if I can predict test scores or if I've ever seen a UFO," she admitted, trying to make light of it but failing to mask her discomfort. Mark sighed, his protective instincts flaring. "This attention, it's not going to fade. If anything, it's going to grow. We need to be careful, to think about how we handle this." The family discussed their options, weighing the desire to correct misunderstandings against the need to protect themselves from potential threats. It was a delicate balance, navigating the line between secrecy and honesty, isolation and exposure. In the end, they agreed on a cautious approach, to continue living their lives as normally as possible while being mindful of the attention they attracted. Mark, in particular, resolved to keep a closer watch on the family's interactions with the outside world, ready to intervene if the curiosity about their abilities crossed the line into something more invasive or dangerous. As the family cleared the dinner table, a silent agreement was forged. They would face this challenge as they had all others, together. But as the lights of their home flickered in the growing dusk, a shadow of uncertainty lingered. The crack in their facade had been exposed, and only time would tell how wide it would spread. In Crossroads, the next part, the Smith family will confront the growing suspicion head-on, making crucial decisions about how to navigate their increasingly public existence. Part 2, Crossroads. The weight of public scrutiny began to press more heavily on the Smith family, turning their daily routines into a series of cautious interactions and wary glances. The community's fascination with their abilities had reached a tipping point, and with it came a decision that could no longer be deferred: to hide their true selves more diligently, or to confront the growing tide of suspicion and misunderstanding directly. Title: Crossroads. Mark and Lena found themselves at the heart of this decision, their protective instincts for Sophie and Eli clashing with their desire for honesty and openness. The discussions took place after dark, when the world outside seemed quieter, less imposing, a rare moment of peace in which to contemplate their family's future. "One part of me wants to pack up and find somewhere we can start over, somewhere our abilities won't make us targets," Lena confessed one night, her voice low but fraught with tension. "But another part of me wonders if running is the answer, or if it's just delaying the inevitable." Mark, whose own experiences had taught him the value of facing challenges head-on, felt the pull of both options. Running might give us temporary relief, but these abilities, our heritage, it's not something we can escape. Maybe it's time we consider standing our ground, helping people understand who we are and why we're not a threat. The idea of opening up more about their Salaxian heritage was fraught with risk. It required exposing their vulnerabilities to a world that might not be ready or willing to understand. Yet it also offered a path towards acceptance, towards bridging the gap between fear and knowledge. Sophie, who had listened quietly to her parents' deliberations, spoke up. People fear what they don't understand. Maybe we can help with that. I'm not saying we hold a press conference tomorrow, but maybe there are subtle ways we can show we're not so different. Eli, sensing the serious tone, added in his simple, childlike manner, "We're good people, right? Why hide?" Their discussion continued late into the night, weighing every possibility, every potential outcome. It was a crossroads not just for their family, but for their very identity. To hide would mean living in constant fear of discovery, of making one wrong move that could expose them. To stand and confront the world's curiosity, however, required a courage that none of them were sure they possessed. In the end, they chose a middle path, one of cautious engagement. They would not broadcast their abilities or seek attention, but neither would they flee from who they were. They would protect their privacy while finding small, meaningful ways to contribute to their community, to build trust and understanding one interaction at a time. This decision marked a new chapter for the Smith family, one of subtle activism in the face of fear and ignorance. They understood the risks, but the potential to live openly, to be accepted for who they truly were, was a chance they were willing to take. As dawn broke on a new day, the family faced their community with a renewed sense of purpose. They were the same neighbors, friends, and classmates as before. But now they carried within them a quiet resolve to bridge the world between human and Silaxian, between fear and acceptance. In Mark's resolve, the next part, the family's decision is put to the test. Title: Mark's Resolve. Part 3: Mark's Resolve. The decision to cautiously engage rather than hide or flee marked a pivotal shift in the Smith family's approach to their extraordinary existence. This shift, however, was not without its immediate challenges, and Mark, as the patriarch and protector, felt the weight of their decision most acutely. His resolve would soon be tested in ways he had not anticipated, forcing him to confront not just the community's growing curiosity, but direct threats that emerged from the shadows of their newfound visibility. In the weeks following their decision at the crossroads, life for the Smiths carried a veneer of normalcy. punctuated by moments that tested their commitment to openness. Mark, ever vigilant, watched for signs of trouble, aware that their unique gifts could attract more than just gossip and sideways glances. It wasn't long before his fears were realized. A series of incidents, vandalism at their home, cryptic messages warning them to leave, surveillance from unknown vehicles, began to escalate, painting a stark picture of the risks they faced. The family's attempts at openness were being met with hostility by some who viewed their abilities with fear and suspicion. One evening, as Mark returned from work, he found a note pinned to their door, its message clear and threatening. Leave or be exposed. The threat was anonymous, but the intent behind it was unmistakable. Someone, or some group, was intent on driving them away, using fear as their weapon. Lena, upon seeing the note, felt a surge of fear. "Maybe we made the wrong decision," she admitted, the strain evident in her voice. "Maybe it's too dangerous to stay." But Mark's resolve, rather than waver, hardened. "Running isn't the answer," he said, his voice firm. "If we run, we'll always be running. It's time I took a stand to protect our family here and now." That night, under the cover of darkness, Mark set out to confront the source of the threats directly. His Salaxian abilities, though rarely used, were formidable, and he was prepared to use them to ensure his family's safety. He tracked the surveillance vehicle that had become a constant presence in their neighborhood, using his heightened senses to stay hidden until he could confront the occupants on his terms. What Mark found was not a government agent or a hostile force, but a small group of locals, driven by fear and ignorance, who believed they were protecting their community from the unknown. The confrontation was tense, with Mark standing alone against a group that had let fear dictate their actions. Mark's display of his abilities, controlled and deliberate, was enough to shock the group into realization. He was not the threat they had imagined, but a father and a husband, fighting to protect his family. "We are not your enemies," Mark declared, his voice carrying the weight of his conviction. "We are part of this community, just like you. Our abilities don't make us a threat. They're a gift, and one we wish to use to help, not harm." The standoff ended not with violence, but with a cautious dialogue. Mark's willingness to reveal himself, to stand in defense of his family, while offering an olive branch, sowed the seeds of understanding. It was a small victory, but a significant one, opening a path to coexistence and potentially acceptance. In the days that followed, the incidents ceased. The surveillance stopped, and the whispers and glances carried a new note of curiosity rather than fear. Mark's stand, his resolve to protect his family while reaching out to those who feared them, had shifted the balance, if only slightly. In Allies in the Shadows, the next part, the Smith family discovers they are not alone in their journey, as others with extraordinary abilities reach out, offering support and guidance. Mark's resolve to protect his family had not only averted immediate threats, but had also opened the door to a wider world of allies and potential friends, signaling the beginning of a new chapter for the Smiths, one filled with hope and unity in the face of adversity. Thank you for listening. Please follow.